Hi, everybody. So this lesson is to talk about how to make a button. So you press a button and then you can stop a game, start a game. Yeah. So how do we do that? Okay, so standard routine. We have I've been using Shrek. I need some code. And for a button, you have to make code, a method that will run when the button is pushed. So we're going to dive to that goal. And as we're used to, I'm going to make a script. And I'm going to call this button code. And I'm going to create it just like normal. And that was a little quick. I need button code. So I'm going to make a method, and you have to make sure that you write public. And hopefully you understand now what public does for you. So we're going to write public. And in my case, I'm just going to write a message out to the console that I pressed the button. I'll just say pressed. And my method's going to be called on button press. I just made that up. I'll put Nito in the title to just make the point that I made it up. And then in here, I'm going to say print button dot pressed, and I'll put an emoji. Boom. All right. Okay, so that's my method that's going to happen on the event that I press a button. I'm going to compile this. It looks like there were errors. I forgot a semicolon. Oh, that's terrible. And let's see, there should be a parenthesis and then a semicolon. See if that fixes it. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to go over to my hierarchy, and I'm going to, just like when I did a text object, I'm going to add a UI, except instead of saying text, I'm going to say button. And recall that all this other overhead joins in, but all we really care about is button. And then the button has a child in the hierarchy, and so a game object, and this is the text that you see when you press the button. So or on the face of the button. So I'm going to say I'm going to say 589. So this is a button that's going to say 589. You can pick the font, how big it is, the color. Let's make it red, just so we feel. Oh, and let's make it 589 blue. So we got that team spirit going. Let's see how close can we get. All right. Come on. Not exactly the right blue. Mrs. Martos would be disappointed. That's better. Okay, so that's our button. And then what do we want to do? And it has a label, 589. And then I'm going to, now I need to assign, I need to connect the code that I just made to this button. And it's similar to what we did with the text. So I'm going to go over to I'm going to select the button. So now this is the active game object. And also notice we got to make sure this is in the right place. So yeah, it is. We got this frame here that looks a little funky. but I think we're good because it's all centered on 0. So now I'm going to worry about connecting the code, my method that I just wrote, to this game object button. So I select the button, and now I'm going to go down in the inspector, and I'm going to notice that there's this click method here, and this is where we attach the method to the button. And there's a little plus sign over here, and I'm going to click the plus sign. And once I do that, this gives me the option of putting the code in this place. So I'm going to select my Shrek head, and I'm going to drag it over here and hover it over none. And by doing that, that connects my game object that has the code in it, that has the button code in it, to the button. And then I go over here where it says no function, and I click this, and you can see that there is a code, a source code file called button code listed here, which is mine. And then I'm going to go over here, and this lists all the methods I can choose from. And I made one called on button press Nito that's listed here. So I'm going to select that. So these steps all allow me to make it so when I press the button, whatever the commands are inside of this method get executed once for each press. And if you recall, the command that I requested was to print in the console button got pressed. Real exciting. Okay, so there's a bunch of sort of tricky steps there. So now what I'm going to do is press play. And I should see the Shrek head with a button to the side of him that says 589. Oops, it's a little low. So I'm actually going to stop that. Now we've got to figure out how to make that button move. So I don't like where that's placed. Yeah. See these? This is the button now is selected, and it's in some weird place. So I'm going to put it at the center, just because that's easy. And now I'm going to hit play again. Hopefully the button with 589 on it is going to be more in the middle of my camera frame. There it is. And the 589 is the blue color of 589. That's pretty close. And so now what I'm going to do, I can press outside, nothing happens. But if I press inside this, I should see button got pressed printed out in the console window. And there it goes, and the emoji. So each time I press, it writes it again. Good. Okay, so you can put any command in there that you want related to your game. You can have multiple buttons, each of them a different method name, do a different function. But that's the basics of how to make a button. Have fun.